So, welcome everybody. You guys can clap and make some noise. Welcome. For the first time, not virtual, very much live, but a traveling series of interviews and workshops and a bunch of different stuff. So my name is Kenny. I'm a poet, and I'm just super cool. And I'm gonna be helping bring you guys through tonight. But I have a co-host with me. If they would like to introduce themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. Hi, my name is Acacia McCabe. I'm currently going into my senior year at the University of Virginia, where I'll hopefully be graduating with a double major in history and English in the spring.
So we also have somebody else on the stage. Yeah, wherever they are. So we're gonna read their bio because we have to. But they are a poet I love and respect, and is a friend of mine. And I'm not just saying that because we're on a stage together right now. Alexa Patrick is a vocalist and poet from Connecticut. She is the author of Remedies for Disappearing, which you'll actually have a chance to purchase at the end of tonight if you like. That came from Haymarket Books, came out in 2023, the year of our Lord and Savior, and holds fellowships from Cave Canem, the DC Commission of the Arts, and more.
In the spring of 2023, Alexa also made her stage production debut as Unsung in the opera We Shall Not Be Moved. Her work can be found published in Adroit, CRWN Magazine, The Breakbeat Poets Volume 2, Black Girl Magic. And if you want to find out more about Alexa after the program, you're welcome to visit alexapatrick.com.
Wow. Give it up for Alexa Patrick, guys.
Hey, everyone.
Wow.
I'm here.
Oh my God.
Here I am.
Are you physically here?
Yeah, I just appeared slowly as you read my bio. That's how you summon me.
Exactly. Oh. It's a spell.
Say it 3 times in the mirror. And I was like, ah. Yeah.
Cool. Would you like to read some poems for us?
I think I will. I'll read 2 poems today. Let's see. The first poem I'm going to read is Critical Missing 2. This is the piece that starts off the book, Remedies for Disappearing. Just really quickly, some things that might be relevant. It is a sestina, and the 6 words that you'll see repeated throughout the poem are... each word is a field that can be found in a Critical Missing poster. Yeah, cool. This is Critical Missing 2 for Runaways. Bless us, girls, apostrophes in our names. Hung drawbridges for the missing continent in our chests, last seen bowing behind the Atlantic. Since, time has continued to chasm our contact, dressing clear intention as American incident. But these voids are no incident, I've learned, as I've attempted to name the acute hurt, the desire for contact without flinch, the mere warmth missing from every greeting. Can't remember a time I wasn't chosen last. I scour for myself in final scenes. Every happy ending incident to my silent work, yet so many times I disappear unnamed in the credits. If I take my missing into my own hands, have no contact with the world that abuses contact, perhaps I will have a self that lasts. Seen so many girls with my face go missing, as if we aren't the beauty incident on the world's dull surface, their names phantom amethysts embellishing time. So I run so fast that even time strains in its reach, struggling to contact who it once held by the neck, by the name. I breathe easier now. I was last seen drawing wings on my chalk outline. Incidentally, what tried to kill me missed. A sad truth. Sometimes we go missing just because we've witnessed over time how no one looks for us, no one inciting riots on our behalf. We, our only emergency contact, this country, our emergency, we see its smile as it buries our names. Call it an incident when we go missing, but remember our names, for we will return like time. to make contact with this dirt before washing our feet in the sea. Thank you. All right. How are you all feeling? That was heavy. I'm sorry. It's like, and that's the opener. I swear we're gonna have a silly goose time, but it'll be juxtaposed with some serious goose, serious geese as well.
Very serious goose tonight.
Okay. The next poem I'm going to read is the poem that I'll also be leading a workshop on later on. It's called Too Much. And you know what? We don't need a lead in for this. I think we'll allow it to speak for itself. How about that? Too much. When held right, it is a weapon. And I am 14 again. Thighs already rubbed holes in the good genes, bright red braces, offensive, making stop signs of every tooth, stretching gaps until my mouth is more machine than human. When I smile, wielding both rows of teeth, wear the clothes the rest of me has not yet swallowed, the pale-necked boys, the ponytail pendulum girls, cringe at the gesture's persistent grind. I have since only attempted quiet, allowed my limbs a smaller radius, became subtler target, but my eyes are loud with their dark hair curls obnoxious. Everything about me claps. Can something vast be wounded? No. A bullet in the sky is only a warning. Smoke like futile breath wheezes out the barrel. Look, your hair sticks out. Look, your purple elbows, your fat thighs. Look, but I mighty myself. Let my joy bark. Uncross my legs. Laugh until even the hurt burns. I'm so big, they keep shooting. Tongues cocked, but I'm ready. Hair tangled like a netting. Eyes wing-tipped, hazardous. I walk into rooms already flexing. In armor I can't rub holes into. I swell before they try. Smiling with both rows of teeth.
Give it up for Alexa Patrick, everybody. Yeah.
Thank you.
Cool. So we're gonna ask some questions. And you will have a chance to ask questions as well to Alexa Patrick. And it's a huge group, so please keep your questions short. But you'll definitely have a chance to ask something. So would you like to start us off?
I'd love to. First off, thank you so much for sharing both poems.
Thank you.
But specifically for Too Much, how does it feel returning to the poem?
It's so interesting because I feel like when I was writing it, sometimes you get kind of stuck in the sauce a bit when you're just like, you're grinding, you're writing the poem and has to get done and you want to make sure you do it well. And then you don't feel it as much as you're writing it. And then I've been finding that as I've been like, reading in different places and going on tour and stuff, and I read the poem and then I feel myself like getting feelings and like choking up a bit. And so it feels really good because I feel like I get to, remind myself that the poems are real and that they come from real emotions and real experiences. And so it's nice. It feels like what do you call it? The two electro shock things, boom, like that. Yeah. It's that. I'm not a doctor, but that's what it is. I know. Do that. I was like, this metaphor, stuff. You get it.
Well, you talked a little bit about the process of writing the poem, but what was your starting point with this one? Was it similar to your starting point with other poems in this book, or was it unique in some ways?
Well, this piece that I first started writing it at Cave Canem, which is a fellowship for Black poets. And yes, I see a Cave Canem fellow in the audience right now. I'm not going to make direct eye contact because if we do, then I don't know. Yeah. The entire place will explode. It's just Voltron. But yeah, but the way the retreat works is that every single night you have to write a new piece that'll be workshopped the following day. So it's very intense, and so I don't really know what it was other than like I have to crank out a poem. But in general, I've been thinking about just extraness, my extraness, and how to fully convey it on a page. I think that that's something that I just have been working through personally and trying to reclaim the like it's okay as a Black woman to take up space and just to be me. And how can I like explore that and complicate that on the page. That's just something that I've been interested in at the time, or was interested in at the time. And so, yeah, all those things combined created the start of Too Much.
I think it was interesting when I was coming back and reading this. You have another poem that I really like called Vigilante.
Yes.
And I think I was interested because I think there are a lot of metaphors in this poem that remind me a lot of Vigilante, where it feels like you're preparing for this fight and going into this war. So I don't know. I think I'm curious when you were like putting the book together. Is that like a through line you saw through the poems where you were like, I'm preparing for a fight throughout this book?
Yeah, and I don't know if it was like preparing for a fight per se, but I do think I do find that those two poems are sisters. And maybe Vigilante is the older sister. I think that Too Much is more of the like exploration of like extraness and too muchness within girlhood, and just the unique hurt that comes from feeling that, like having like too much is a weapon. With Vigilante, like I become, I don't know, maybe not necessarily a weapon. I become just there's a kind of force behind Vigilante and like a sureness behind Vigilante that I kind of just want Vigilante to be the older sister to Too Much. Like I feel like if you let Too Much sit for a little bit and let it stew for a little bit, then it becomes Vigilante.
Like
That's what I
Vigilante.
I think
And I will say one thing I noticed when I was reading through the poem, even the first or second time, was some of the, I guess, combative connotation, wielding the teeth, making the body a smaller target. Did that come kind of naturally, or as you were writing? How did you kind of land on that kind of that connotation?
Like the metaphor of the weapon. Well, I think it's just because like, I mean, when people would call me too much or say it, especially with a negative connotation, it did feel hurtful. It was painful and is painful. Whenever I feel like people are addressing me as if I'm like doing the most, or if I'm like some type of like unruly person, or like like that hurts, and it's used to hurt, and it's used to control and to scare, and it's used in a lot of different ways. So like that's just how I felt. And so if I wanted to stretch that metaphor and extend it, the idea of like too much when used right, it's a weapon. Then you kind of get this whole universe of war that just kind of comes through.
Before we turn it over to the audience, give them a chance. You did read another poem.
I did.
And I am interested because I think I never have known the right pronunciation. I'm just gonna call it a sestina, and if you guys talk to me about that, you're gonna type black. So how about that? But I think I'm curious, was this your first sestina, or were you like playing around with the form and you were like, this is like living with me?
Yeah, I went through a phase over the shutdown because I had nothing else to do when I was writing a sestina every day because I wanted to get good at it. I was like, I want to try and master this where it's not sounding clunky and it's sounding, like it flows, and like I'm not forcing words into, that kind of I'm not forcing words into their position. I want them to fall there just naturally. And so this was one of many. But I was really excited by the idea of using those like repeated words as each of the fields in a critical missing poster. I was just thinking a lot about disappearing and being disappeared, and I couldn't think of that without thinking of Black girls going missing and how nobody looks for us. I was thinking about that one viral moment, like in 2014, where there was an article and there was like, there are 200 missing Black girls in DC and no one's looking for them. But then as soon as there were like some more complications to that and more nuances to that, where it's like, well, some of them have been found, some of them are runaways and they haven't been kidnapped, but with those kind of quote unquote curveballs, people seem to stop talking about it. And so with this book in general, I was looking at a lot of critical missing posters, and I was just like, what if I write a sestina for runaways specifically? And what if these are themes that can kind of return and mutate throughout a piece? And maybe this is the form that will help make space for all of that nuance and all of that complication. Okay. So the question was about how this book in general explores a lot of my experience growing up as a Black girl in a predominantly white town. Specifically, it focuses on my high school experience. And so the question was, when I reflect on my high school experience, because I'm no longer in high school, if I'm recalling memories or if I'm recalling feelings. Yeah. And then the second part of that question is, when I am exploring the idea of too muchness, if it's me as an adult speaking, or if it is the high school self speaking, and how do I kind of track the progression of myself through that time? Memory.
That was pretty good.
Yeah. And I'm done. Goodbye. Good night.
That was it.
Okay, so the response to your first question is, I'm tracking feeling. I'm tracking feeling. And a lot of times when I recall the feelings, the images, when I sit with them, they come back. And sometimes they come back in a kind of muffled, jumbled form, and that's okay. Like, this isn't a memoir. And, I also very intentionally shifted some things in the book just for safety. So I wasn't trying to recall all the things that happened in a way that felt like this is like a historical archive. So I'm mostly tracking feeling. When I'm thinking about too muchness, it is, I think that this is what I was attempting to explain when you were talking about the difference between too much and vigilante. I think like the distance between too much and vigilante is what you're talking about when you're like tracking that too much self. You know what I mean? Yeah, for too much specifically, I mean, it's my high school experience, and I'm 14 again, is the second line, right? So I'm thinking about just that youth and what that feels like to learn that taking up too much space is a bad thing. And to be like confused and frustrated and saddened because it's not something that you can change. Yeah, but then of course, as you travel through vigilante, it's just like, pow, I'm here. I'm not taking any names. Edit? I don't edit. I'm kidding. That'd be wild.
Interesting.
So it looks like a lot of different things. I am very lucky to have lots of poet friends who are generous with their time. And they are my first readers. So that can also look like, me being like a part of a workshop. Tin House, for instance, was a workshop that I was part of, where you go in with a small manuscript of your work, and then you get it workshopped by, a well-established poet, and then also a whole bunch of other poets who are in the space who are working on their own collections as well. And it could also just look like, me texting the group chat being like, who has space to read my work and let me know what you think. For this book specifically, I had a group of 6 people, I think, who all like offered to like be the first to read through everything and give me their notes. I had all their notes on a page, and then I wrote them down, and I decided which ones I'd keep and which ones I'd throw away. You know, and the ones like when there were notes that would align with multiple, like that's a definite like, ooh, yeah, maybe I should cut this line because ain't nobody know what I'm talking about. But yeah, that's what it looks like. And it's nice when you have people who are kind readers as well, not kind in a way that's like they are going to keep things from you, but kind in that they want to see you and they want to see your intention with the work, and like that is the thing that's guiding their edits. It's not like I don't like this. It's never that. Um it's always productive edits, which is nice. Form is always something that I felt really alienated by, especially as a poet that came into poetry through spoken word mostly. Um, and so when you enter a lot of literary spaces, there will be folks that just don't take you seriously, which is really frustrating. And it's racialized. It's like people will call me a spoken word poet while I'm like reading haiku off of a page, and I'm like, wait. But anyway, but if I'm feeling challenged by something, then let me explore that. Like I don't want to be scared of something just because it's something that people have used to alienate me. What if I actually dive deeper into it and then learn about it and then make it my own and remix it? Like that's something that is actually really exciting and also really empowering, just to be able to like, ooh, let me take that on. So there are a lot of places within this book where I'm playing around with form. Some of it is more structured, like, okay, a sestina. Cool, that's what that is. We're doing it. And then sometimes I'm like, but doesn't the poem look pretty on the page when I do it this way? And doesn't it feel right just to have some space here? Or if, this is the only word on this line, like that's really what form is. Like what is, like how can the poem utilize space in order to convey the intention? And then if we're keeping it real, like spoken word does the same exact thing, where it's just like, how can this poet utilize space in order to convey the intention of the poem? So I mean, both forms perform. I've never been able to write a sonnet that I liked.
Are there sonnets in this book?
No.
Not a single one?
No. No. What do it look like? Rashid Copeland? No. Rashid Copeland he's a sonnet writing dude. But yeah, no, that is my next thing that I'm like, let me dive deeper into this so I can not be scared by it. Let me just conquer it.
I feel you. Oh.
It's hard to talk about this in like a kind of succinct way because it was really all over the place. When I decided that I wanted to publish a chapbook, because publishing was also a thing that scared me. Again, I mean, there's a lot of stuff that just comes from being like, first starting out as a spoken word performer / like growing up in this slam space, and then moving on to like print work. But I was like, let me dip my toe in. Let me do a little chapbook and, kind of shop that around a bit. I sent my chapbook manuscript to a few friends, and one of those friends, without my knowledge, sent it to Haymarket Books. And then they were like, this is cool. Can you make it a full length? That is not the way that a lot of like publishing stories go. And so it's been really cool and really wild. Um, and but one of the big takeaways is that like this book is just the product of a lot of sets of hands, you know, and a lot of people and a lot of just like kin who have supported and championed my work. Um, and so yeah, because like I could not really envision a clean path to having a full length book. I couldn't. And so the fact that, this is the way it happened has been just a really dope and a blessing for sure. Because this collection was originally a chapbook, it was a shorter collection. I had the title already. And then I had to grow it into a full length, which meant writing like 30 more poems, which meant writing like 100 more poems to get 30 good ones. So I guess the title. Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you. There's so many different ways that we disappear, and I think if anything, actually, I think that this is a very like Black poet theme in general, is just like we die, but not really. Like I think that that is just a common theme within our poetry. Like there's something about us that like we focus a lot on, like, death but return, like here but not, and like always graying the lines between the two.
You can't kill us until you kill us.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Don't call us dead. It's
Oh my god.
and yeah, and like I think that there's also something really beautiful about that, and so I wanted something to speak to that. So we feeling good? We cozy? We got all the materials we need? Beautiful. Okay, so we are going to be focusing on the piece "Too Much" specifically, right? And so with this poem, I wanted to both like complicate and reclaim a phrase by which I'd felt confined. And so writing it, I envisioned this phrase to be a kind of cage, and then I envisioned the poem itself to be a kind of like animal breaking it open. Like that's how I was thinking about it. And so, really, all of us have experiences in which we've been reduced by the assumptions, or reduced to the assumptions of others, or reduced to a certain phrase, or called out of our names, where people have simplified us or smoothed out our edges to the point of us not being human, of us being unrecognizable. However, being human is complicated and messy, and we are expansive, and we are allowed to change, and we are allowed to grow. And so I am going to ask you all to write poems where you are exploring your cages and then breaking them open. So this workshop is called Mighty Selves, Exploring and Exploding Our Cages.
Ooh, yes.
Yes. We love a good title. And then for those of you who are curious, the workshop came first and then it was the title. Okay, so step one, I'm going to ask that you all write about 3 phrases that people have used to describe you in the past. I would aim for short phrases. If you can't think of short phrases, that's okay. You can write them long and then see if there's a way to simplify them. But 3 phrases that people have used to describe you in the past. Next to each phrase, I want you to write down a simple image-based metaphor that you associate with the power of each phrase. So, for example, too much is, one of those phrases that like hurt me as a teenager. It's like a very teenage hurt. And so I associate it with a weapon. Like that's its power on me. It is something that could puncture. It's something that can wound. I want you to choose an image-based metaphor for your words that you've listed. Again, something simple. It can be as broad or as specific as you want. Though I used weapon, maybe another version of myself might have used like it's a switchblade. So it's up to you. Go with what you feel. But some examples, right? So maybe is it like a hard candy? Is it something that can like, I don't know, strain your jaw? Is it an engine? Is it something that like revs? Is it something that keeps you going or motivates you? Is it a scraped knee? Like a dull kind of pain, but like something a parent might kiss and it might make it feel better. Is it a jungle gym? Is it something that you play on or hang on? You can have fun with it. It doesn't always have to be like a negative image. Now, I want you to look through your list. I want you to think about a specific time, a specific moment, if you're able, where someone treated you as if you were this phrase. I also want to acknowledge again that sometimes it's hard to pinpoint a specific moment. It is okay to use your imagination here. We are not writing autobiographies. You can imagine a time where this could come up or might have come up. Think about a time when someone used this phrase and or treated you as if you were this phrase, and go through each one, kind of comb through each, and see which one has the most heat for you. Which one seems the most kind of like, ooh, complicated or interesting, or maybe I've never heard this story before, or I've never seen this story reflected before. Whatever that is, that's going to be the cage that you're going to be exploring. Okay, so the next step, the last step, is I need you all to write down the first 10 words that come to your mind when you think of this moment. That's all. Real quick, just 10 words. You all are going to hate me. You are not able to use those 10 words in your poem. What you can do is you can replace those words with images, but I don't want you to use those 10 words. A lot of times we go for the simple, kind of small potatoes, easy words just to get them out. Sometimes what helps us push through to like the powerful piece that we need to write is getting out those first pancake words. You know what I mean? First pancake meaning if you all have ever made pancakes, the first pancake is always a tester pancake. These are your tester words. We don't need those right now. Okay? So I'm going to challenge you. / if you're like, Alexa, that was too mean and I'm actually going to use these words, feel free to do it. Who am I? But I challenge you to not. Your prompt. The phrase that you chose is the title of your poem. In your poem, I want you to explore this phrase as a cage and then allow your poem to break out of it. Keep in mind that though you are exploding something by which you have been confined, this is not a clapback poem. Okay, I don't want you to be like, let me tell you something. I'm actually not this thing. Because I want the poem to be for you, right? I don't want it to center the people who will confine you by this thing. I want it to center you. So that's important. The poem shouldn't come from a place of defense, but from a place of unruliness. Okay? Unleash your monster and step into your expansiveness, step into your power. So, the first part of your piece will be exploring your cage, that phrase and where you heard it, where you hear it. Go for it. And then shift that power somehow. What does that break look like? In my piece, it is, can something vast be wounded? No, a bullet in the sky is only a warning. If you're looking for a way to actually do that and cause that power shift, dive into the image that you all chose earlier. So if you chose a map, maybe it's some type of compass, some type of broken, like, I don't know, there's something there, like explore it. If it's a room, I don't know, maybe it's a window, maybe it's a sledgehammer that you hide under your bed so that you can break a wall down. But
Alexa, I told you don't tell people about my sledgehammer.
yeah, but like yes, and maybe in your wardrobe, it actually you go inside and then there's a whole world in it. Like so there are a lot of things that can happen there, and feel free to explore and kind of yes and your imagination. You know what I mean? And then of course explode your cage. How might you grow beyond this phrase? How might you complicate it? How might you reclaim it as a superpower? Yeah, how are you gonna swallow it whole? I thank you all for rocking with me and for taking this journey and for challenging your big, beautiful brains this evening. Thank you.
Can we get a round of applause for Alexa Patrick, please?